An eye on it for us. We'll be back to you, no doubt, with more. But now let's go to Kenneth Moten. He's at FEMA headquarters in, Victor Akendo. Where is Victor? In Tallahassee. Victor, how's it looking?
Well, David, the conditions are quickly deteriorating out of here. Hurricane Michael is heading right this way. We're starting to feel the first of those hurricane force winds here. The rain has been consistent, and now those wind gusts are getting much stronger. County officials say that Tallahassee has not seen a storm like this in more than a century. And if you have not evacuated, if you have not left your home, the time for that has passed. West Tallahassee is expected to get the brunt of Hurricane Michael here, and there are already reports of downed trees and power lines there as well. Florida's capital, beautiful, but it is covered with trees, just like that big one you see right there behind me as well. You got that Spanish moss hanging below it. A lot of that is already covering the streets here in Tallahassee. So the major concern here all along has been those downed trees and the power lines as Michael begins to rip through this city. There is no doubt that we'll be looking at some projectiles, a lot of debris on the roads, and power outages for days, possibly weeks. So officials made sure to prepare for this one. There are more than 1,000 utility workers. We're talking about power crews and tree removing crews as well. They are ready to roll out as soon as the storm makes its way through here. But keep in mind, once the winds reach 35 miles per hour, it is not safe for them to be out here on the roads. It was just 2 years ago, Hurricane Hermine hit. It knocked out power to some 75,000 customers. 80% of the electrical grid was damaged, and it caused more than $5 million in damage. So this time around, everyone was prepared for the storm. That said, we are expecting about 5 to 8 inches of rain here, and tornadoes are absolutely a possibility. So just to reiterate, county officials say that if you have not evacuated, it is too late to do so. Stay at home, seek shelter. David?
Yikes. Thanks very much, Victor, for bringing us up to date there in Tallahassee, the capital of Florida, slightly inland. Let's go now back to the coast, and that's where we find ABC's Rob Marciano. Rob, you're in Panama City. How's it going?
Okay, it's a rough go right now. Camera off, yeah. We're just trying to keep our gear dry and give the viewer watching from home a sense for what it's going to do here. Category 4, nearly Category 5 storm. This is the western Ottawa, all right? The eastern Ottawa is even worse. Leaving, you're going to cross this parking lot. That's the main strip here in Panama City Beach. These hotels, new and old, these other buildings, they're taking a beating, and there's been the shards of debris kind of flying through here. Parts of the hotels, both the sides and the roofs, have been sheared off. I mean, no complete collapses, at least in this spot, but certainly some damage done in this area. Thankfully, a fast-moving storm, so we're hoping not to be in this damaging core of the winds too much longer, but it's a good couple of hours. And you can see it kind of comes in waves. There'll be a puff that'll bring winds that will nearly knock me over at hurricane strength, and then there'll be a low. There's a puff.
Rob, the winds are looking very fierce there. I don't know if you can hear me very well, but are you in the eye of the storm now, or is it? Are you still in the brunt of it?
No, I tell you what, it sounds like David Wright. I don't know who the anchor is, but it sounds like my buddy DW. Look, I wish I was in the eye right now, because then it'd be calm. At least we get that. We're in the eye wall, which is the most ferocious part of the eye. The right side of the eye wall even more so, and basically you get slammed with these winds for hours on end, and you don't even get the payoff or the respite of the eye. We missed it by about 15 miles to our east, to answer your question. And I can tell you from experience, being in the eye of a storm is awe-inspiring, spiritual, spooky in many ways. You'll see birds flying around, mosquitoes that were caught up in the storm and traveled in some cases hundreds of miles from another part of the world to the south. We're not experiencing that, unfortunately, right now, but we are experiencing some pretty intense winds. I don't know if we can see this, Scott. A lot of construction here. And,
Just fierce.
Bear with me.
Hang on to something. Hang on to something.
All right, so I'm going to show you some cranes up there. Can you see him, Scott? You can see him?
Yeah.
So much construction here, man. You see those massive cranes, those construction cranes up there? And you see them across every city. Well, they're building so much here in Panama City Beach that they've got a couple up there now to build probably another condo building or another high-rise. They, you know, they unhook those basically when there's a storm coming so that they can sway in the wind like a
weather vane. Yeah.
A wind vane. Yeah. From what I understand about them, even with that, they can withhold winds, the major categories, hurricane strength. So far, remarkably, they've held up with this one. So I'm always in awe of how we build things, and certainly some of the buildings that are here that are withstanding these hurricane force winds.
I'm in awe of you right now, withstanding those wind conditions. So get inside, get dry, and we'll check back with you later. ABC's Rob Marciano right there in Panama City, Florida. Let's go now to Ken Graham. He is the director of the National Hurricane Center. Are you there with us? Ken Graham, are you able to hear me? This is David Wright. Okay. Unfortunately, we can't go to him right now, but to recap just a little bit, this is now the third strongest storm on record here in the United States, the strongest storm in 50 years since 1969. That's when Hurricane Camille hit the Florida coast. We are now in the early stages of this hurricane making landfall. 155-mile-an-hour winds as it made landfall in Mexico Beach, Florida. Let's go to Kenneth Moten. He's at FEMA headquarters. Kenneth, hi.
David, hey, David, I'm still thinking about my friend Rob there. Yeah, it's dry inside here. There are no strong winds, but there's still a flurry of activity inside this nerve center for FEMA headquarters that's really watching and monitoring this massive storm and really staying in contact with state and local officials. This is a massive federal response here, and there are a number of concerns for FEMA. First and foremost, the people, making sure that people have really hunkered down and that they know that if they need help and they call 911, it may take some time for them to get that help. FEMA Administrator Brock Long has been briefing the White House and President Trump, who asked the administrator about those who didn't have the means to escape this storm in a timely fashion, because we know that it was fast approaching and people couldn't get out in time. But the administrator assured the president there that they're staying in touch with state and local officials to make sure they can get to those people as fast as possible. The next priority, making sure that those state and local officials have the resources, David, really have what they need, have the military response, as well as they coordinate this massive federal effort to make sure they can clear the roads, because we know the main concerns: down trees, down power lines. FEMA is preparing for some areas to be without electricity for weeks. Other concerns, again, that power infrastructure, buildings that were not built to withstand anything above a category 3 that were maybe didn't have the certain codes. Certain codes weren't put into effect until about 2001 in Florida, and we know there are a lot of buildings in the Panhandle in Florida that likely cannot withstand those category 3 winds. So that's a concern from FEMA as well. We also know they're keeping a close eye on those toxic waste sites, those Superfund sites that can really be vulnerable when you're dealing with a storm with intensity and the winds of one like Hurricane Michael. But again, David, we know that Brock Long is really in touch with the White House, other federal officials. They really mobilized. Had an interagency call just about a couple of hours ago where they spoke with officials in the Southeast, state and local. They also had people from the Coast Guard on that call to make sure they were all coordinated and all ready to respond and mobilize as soon as possible.
Kenneth, as you say, this Florida is basically the front edge of this storm right now, but this thing is going to march like General Sherman's army across the South, basically, through areas where, as you say, they're not accustomed to hurricanes as they might be in Florida. And we've also heard a number of our reporters in the field talking about the possibility of tornadoes in the wake of this.
Yeah.
How big a concern is that?
A big concern. That's why FEMA has put 3,000 people in the Southeast in very strategic spots in those states that are going to be impacted by Michael. And so we know that in Florida, they've got shelters that are open. They've got a number of crews and FEMA workers who are down there, but also they're looking at what happens the next day, what happens tomorrow, Friday. And so we know Thursday, late tomorrow, Friday, that Georgia is expecting structural damage. We know they're expecting a lot when it comes comes to dealing with that storm. And so that's why you have those workers who are there